Nestled in the northernmost reaches of Japan lies Hokkaido, a land of vast forests, rugged mountains, serene lakes, and icy coastlines. This often snow-covered island is a place where nature reigns supreme, shaping every aspect of life. It is here that the Ainu people have lived for centuries, their history and identity deeply intertwined with the rich, untamed landscape surrounding them. Unlike the more densely populated and urbanized regions of Japan, Hokkaido holds a quieter, profound connection to the natural world, a connection central to the Ainu's way of life. The Ainu are an indigenous group whose roots in Hokkaido predate the arrival of modern Japanese settlers by many generations. Their culture, language, and traditions stand apart from those of the majority Japanese population, offering a glimpse into a unique heritage that has endured despite numerous challenges. Known for their intricate wood carvings, distinctive clothing decorated with symbolic patterns, and animistic beliefs, the Ainu view the world as filled with spiritual essence. Mountains, rivers, animals, and plants each hold a sacred place in their cosmology, reflecting a profound respect for all forms of life. Historically, the Ainu lived primarily as hunter-gatherers, relying on the forests and seas of Hokkaido for sustenance. Salmon fishing, deer hunting, and gathering wild plants formed the backbone of their economy and culture. These practices were not merely survival skills, but were embedded in rituals and stories passed down through generations, reinforcing their close bond with the land. Their villages were located near rivers or coastlines, places abundant with resources essential to their traditional lifestyle. However, over centuries of contact with expanding Japanese influence, the Ainu experienced significant disruptions. Government policies during the Meiji Restoration in the late 19th century sought to assimilate the Ainu, often forcibly suppressing their language and customs. Lands once managed by Ainu communities were taken for agricultural or industrial development, fracturing their traditional ties to the territory. The consequences have been profound, leading to loss of cultural knowledge and social marginalization. Today, the Ainu number only in the tens of thousands, and many face challenges related to economic hardship and cultural visibility within mainstream Japanese society. Yet, there's a growing movement among the Ainu and their allies to revive and protect their heritage, language, and rights. In recent years, official recognition from the Japanese government has acknowledged the Ainu as an indigenous people, an important step toward fostering understanding and respect. This documentary embarks on a journey through Hokkaido to explore the living culture of the Ainu people, a culture that remains vibrant despite historical pressures. We will witness the ceremonies, craftsmanship, and stories that continue to define their identity in the modern era. But this is also a story of resilience. The ongoing struggle to generate awareness, preserve traditions, and claim space within a contemporary Japan that is just beginning to come to terms with its indigenous history. Through the lens of the Ainu's deep connection to Hokkaido's wilderness, we hope to shine light on a community whose story is often overlooked but is essential to the broader narrative of Japan's past and future. The origins of the Ainu people trace back thousands of years, making them one of the oldest indigenous communities in Northeast Asia. Anthropologists suggest their ancestors once inhabited not only Hokkaido, but also parts of Sakhalin and the Kuril Islands. Over centuries, the Ainu developed a distinct culture shaped by their environment, a culture closely tied to the forests, rivers, and seas of this frigid region. Traditionally, the Ainu lived as hunter-gatherers, engaging in fishing, hunting, and foraging to sustain their communities. Salmon fishing was especially vital. The fish was considered a sacred gift from the gods and featured prominently in Ainu spiritual beliefs and seasonal rituals. Their settlements were typically small and strategically located near waterways, allowing access to essential food sources. Alongside their subsistence lifestyle, the Ainu developed rich craftsmanship skills. Intricate embroidery adorned their garments, often featuring patterns inspired by nature and believed to protect the wearer from evil spirits. These textiles, created with painstaking detail, reveal the Ainu's deep appreciation of the natural world. Wood carving was another cornerstone of their artistic expression. Skilled artisans transformed branches and driftwood into ceremonial items, utensils, and tools, often decorated with swirling motifs symbolizing animals, spirits, or elements of the landscape. These carvings were not mere decorations. Each held spiritual significance tied to Ainu cosmology. Ritual ceremonies played a central role in Ainu society, reinforcing community bonds and communication with the spiritual realm. The bear ceremony, or Ioman, is among the most well-known, a ritual that honors the spirit of a bear cub, believed to be a divine messenger. Such ceremonies combined offerings, chants, dances, and feasts, weaving together the physical and spiritual worlds. However, the Ainu's way of life underwent profound challenges with the expansion of Japanese influence, especially during the Meiji era from the late 19th century onward. The Japanese government enacted assimilation policies aimed at integrating the Ainu into mainstream society, often at the cost of their cultural identity. Ainu language and customs were discouraged or outright banned in public and educational settings. Children in particular were pressured to abandon their native tongue in favor of Japanese, fueling a drastic decline in fluency over generations. Land rights also became a contentious issue. Traditional Ainu territories were seized or redefined, frequently converted to farmland or resource extraction sites under government control. This dispossession disrupted not just livelihoods, but the spiritual relationship between the Ainu and their land. The impact of these policies has been lasting. Many cultural practices were lost or severely weakened, and the Ainu faced social marginalization that persisted well into the 20th century. Only relatively recently has there been a shift toward acknowledging the historical injustices suffered by the Ainu. In 2008, the Japanese government officially recognized the Ainu as an indigenous people, a landmark step that renewed national attention to their cultural and human rights. Since then, efforts to revive the Ainu language and traditions have gained momentum. Cultural centers, language classes, and festivals celebrate Ainu heritage, providing spaces for both education and pride. Today, the preservation of Ainu culture is driven largely by community-led initiatives and growing public awareness, yet significant challenges remain. Since the 2008 official recognition of the Ainu as an indigenous people by the Japanese government, there's been increased support for cultural revitalization efforts. This step marked a turning point, signaling a shift from past policies of assimilation to acknowledgement and respect. However, recognition alone has not erased the deep economic and social marginalization that many Ainu continue to face. Community organizations across Hokkaido have become vital centers for sustaining Ainu traditions and promoting cultural education. These groups organize language classes aimed at teaching the Ainu language, which is critically endangered with only a handful of fluent speakers remaining. Revitalizing the language is seen as essential not only for communication, but for reconnecting with cultural knowledge embedded in traditional expressions and oral history. Cultural festivals and performances also play a key role in keeping customs alive. Events such as the Ainu Culture Festival offer a platform for showcasing traditional dance, music, and crafts, drawing both Ainu descendants and visitors alike. These gatherings foster pride within the community and help build bridges of understanding with broader Japanese society. Museums and cultural centers have expanded their programming to include workshops on wood carving, embroidery, and traditional cuisines, providing hands-on experiences that link the past with the present. Legal progress continues beyond recognition. In recent years, efforts to reclaim land and strengthen indigenous rights have gained traction, although these are often met with bureaucratic and legal hurdles. The Japanese government initiated policies to support Ainu cultural preservation, including funding for research and local projects. But critics argue that more comprehensive measures are needed to address systemic inequalities. Economically, many Ainu communities still struggle. Historically marginalized from employment opportunities and education, some Ainu people live in poverty or work in lower-paying jobs disconnected from their heritage. This economic hardship complicates cultural revival, as younger generations face the pressures of modern life and may find limited ways to engage with or sustain traditional practices. Environmental changes also threaten the natural resources central to Ainu identity. The forests, rivers, and wildlife that shape their culture are impacted by development and climate change, affecting traditional subsistence activities like fishing and hunting. Protecting these lands is therefore not just environmental conservation, but an act of preserving cultural survival. Despite these obstacles, the resilience of the Ainu community endures. Their determination to maintain and renew their heritage reflects a desire to ensure that future generations inherit a living culture, not just memories or artifacts. This persistence highlights the profound importance of Indigenous heritage as a source of identity, history, and diversity within Japan. Yet, the full recovery of Ainu culture remains uncertain. The cumulative effects of past suppression, economic marginalization, and ongoing challenges make cultural revitalization a complex and ongoing process. Success will depend on continued support, both within the Ainu community and from the wider society, recognizing that Indigenous heritage is an invaluable part of the world's cultural fabric.